Thank you for Patreon now for donating to the Patreon.
Hey guys, it's Vanny. Back with Card 5 Vanguard deck profiles. So I hope you guys enjoyed the attack. Conscribe us, shall we? This time we're covering Stoicheia Set 8 Maelstrom. Maelstrom, yes, the big dragon boy who we already got a small taste of with Flagberg has finally been revealed, and he has shown that he is essentially consistent Flagberg. How I put is this: Flagberg, if you want the more numbers and I guess more multi-attack, Flagberg's your boy. But if you want the more consistency and the one that I guess has more hand quote-unquote advantage, then Maelstrom is your boy. So let's go and get this started, shall we? And you can see what I mean and judge for yourself. Would you rather have Flagberg or Maelstrom? Honestly, I'd rather have both because they're both very fun to use in their own respective rights. So let's go and get this started, shall we? Oh yeah, before we do, remember, this deck is not built for ultimate ability, it is built solely for fun. So if you want the more ultimate build, this is clearly not the video for you. But if you just want to see my version of it for fun, then here's mine. First up, we have our starter today, an Officer Cadet Erikk, a grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 6k base, auto winners wrote upon if you win second, draw a card. Okay, so I already had my bias walking into these because, you know, Flagberg we've had for so long, and I don't know why they bothered bringing back Maelstrom when Flagberg was clearly meant to be pseudo Maelstrom. Just find it weird, especially with the same thing what they did with Lukier, where clearly Tamayura was meant to be Lukier, but they just brought back Lukier anyways. So again, I don't know why Bushy did this, but they did. Either way, standard starter skill, auto win road plank, win second, draw a card. Nothing special about it. You just get a free draw if you win second. All I'm gonna say is this: none of the deck except for Maelstrom technically requires this, so you don't really need this as your starter. But I run it anyways because it just has the Aquaforce Nation, and also because of theming, and that does actually kind of matter in this deck. So run this just for that one of chance that, hey, I might need this card, even though it is very doubtful you will. In my opinion, Charcoals is better both in terms of name and just in terms of art, but again, theme and skill that might actually be relevant in the future. So one of in the ride deck, I guess. Then we have our triggers. First we have our over trigger, which is Source Dragon Deity with Blessings, Blessfavor, one of, obviously. Grades with boost 50k shield, 5k power. Over trigger, you mill one over trigger, and your deck reveals a trigger, meta card, draw a card, choose one of these move for the turn. And if voted during a draft check, activate its additional effect, which is draw a card, choose one of these, it gets plus 1 crit for the turn, or your farm gets plus 10. And if your damage zone has the same number of cards in your damage zone or more, choose a card from your damage zone and heal it. So, all around, that's pretty great. You get a free draw, you get an extra crit, you get plus 10, and you get a free heal on top of the 1 million, and the other draw you get just by drive checking this. So, the everything bagel. Yes, your defensive power increases, your board power increases by a lot, and if your opponent somehow survives this turn, depending on when you pulled this, your opponent will have a hard time trying to bring it back, or your opponent will have the easiest time trying to bring it back because you probably pulled this on grade 2 turn, and this probably didn't make much of a difference outside of put them to 4 to 5 damage, which is still winnable. So all around, Blessfavor is a nice over trigger. Frankly, in terms of effect, it's my favorite. I've made that very clear because getting to pull all those effects off at once feels so good. It feels like you accomplish something every time you put those numbers into position and just do each and every effect. So I love this over trigger a lot. Obviously, you can use Obari if you want to for the 2 million or 1 million to 2 units. But when you have the everything bagel, I think it's clear which one you go for, considering one is better on the aggressive than the other one, in my opinion. So Blessfavor, especially when you're only attacking once after Maelstrom swings. So yeah, and Maelstrom normally goes at the end, or second to end. So yeah, one of Blessfavor. Then we have our normal triggers. We have 3 copies of the draw trigger in Serene, Maiden, Lena. Grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 4k power. Draw chains guard circle, opponent's vanguards are grade 3 gets plus 5k shield. So 10k shield, it helps increase your hand as a draw trigger, you know, and then the 10k shield just helps defend you in the later game. It's definitely helpful for increasing the hand because just like Flagberg, it doesn't have the best hand to begin with, so being able to slightly increase it, even though we already have a little bit of a hand advantage over them, is nice, and that's pretty much why you run Lena. You don't really need fronts in this deck because, again, Maelstrom always swings for second to last, so you really don't need fronts, but if you want to, you can run them. But again, I just prefer the 3 draws, because we also run a total of 8 crits, 4 of them being dual pressure dragon because fits the deck's theme, and then 4 being Aspiring Maiden Alana, who does absolutely nothing for this deck, but still. Grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 4k power, critical trigger, auto rear, at the end of the battle is boosted, put her to soul, choose one of these plus 2k for the turn, so just a free 2k by sending her to soul. Helps out the deck in the sense that if you run into a soul problem, she can definitely fix it, but the fact that the game would have gone that far, either you or your opponent are playing their decks wrong, or you both bricked heavily, because there's no way in hell this deck should run into a soul problem and that early of the game, considering how things would have to work out. So, run the 8 crits, add pressure to Maelstrom's attack after you've abused them with multiple rearguard attacks, and then the draw triggers to help increase your hand for next turn, or leading up to this turn. So yeah, 8 crits in total, 3 draws, and then we have 4 regular heals in Elegy Pixy, because there wasn't a normal looking fucking Aquaforce heal. Grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 5k power. We all know why I don't run the effect heals at this point. If you don't know why I don't run the effect heals, because in my opinion they're too situational, because one of them, the main one people use, only works if your opponent is attacking with the same unit for the second time or more that turn, and the other one only works if they get extra criticals for, I want to say, things that aren't triggers. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But yeah, I don't like having those ones, especially because they have a 10k shield base, meaning that yes, while their abilities will increase their shield to 25k, if those effects don't go off, that means those are the worst shields in those situations, and you might end up having to drop more from that instead of dropping just the regular heal. And that actually has been a scenario in a few games where if I did run those effect heals, I would have lost, because even though they definitely would have been helpful guarding those restanders that were coming, I would have had to drop them on the regular ones anyways, meaning the extra shield would have made no difference whatsoever, or like actually would have been worse because I would have had to drop more cards to block the first swing instead of the second swing. So yeah, 4 of Elegy Pixy, it's just a good heal trigger to have, being able just to be a 15k shield. But if you want to run the effect heals, go ahead, but I don't like taking that chance. Then we have our grade 1s. First up, we have 4 copies of Fierce Strike Brave Shooter. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. I love how he's just an underwater cowboy. Like, his suit gives off, like, Admiral vibes, and then he has just, like, the actual cowboy hat with dual pistols, so obviously I'm biased towards him. Then it continues to rearguard during the 4th battle of this turn or more of your turn, all your units in the same column as him get plus 5k power. So all around, that's great, because not only does it include himself, so he's a 13k base when he's boosting, if he's still standing that is, but also the units in front of him just are free plus 5k power, meaning, like, say for example, it's a restander who you had to use your first attack of this turn on with the boost just to make sure it could hit. Now, as long as they didn't pull a trigger, or as long as that unit, or as long as they have a unit that can still be hit by an extra 5k, Fierce Strike Brave Shooter will help hit it. All around, I like him a lot. He definitely adds help to more of the end of turn battle, especially because, like, that's my feeling with a lot of multi-attack decks where they get shut down by triggers. So being able to have that little bit pressure after everything else has swung is pretty great as well, especially if you didn't stack any triggers on Maelstrom. It's the last battle of that turn. So 4 Brave Shooter. Also, he gives the power to any unit, so it also works to the Vanguard. So just saying, if you want to call this behind Maelstrom. 4 Brave Shooter. Good grade 1. I love it a lot. Just a good card. Then we have 4 copies of Prize Trident, card who I always forget to use the effect of because I always feel like he's just not there. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto rear. When the other unit attacks, so not himself, it is the 5th battle of that turn. By putting him to soul, you can countercharge 1, which is great, because on occasions this deck can run into counterboss problem. It is rare, but it can, and then being able just to add itself to soul, again, definitely helps. If it's between this and Alana to send to soul, you kind of just want to send Alana to soul at that point, but because this is a stronger booster. But hey, you know what, Prize Trident more likely than not is going to hit the board more than Lana will, so might as well make Prize Trident your choice and run it as a 4 of. 4 copies of the PG Custodial Dragon, grades 1 boost to your Shows K base, continuous Sundown, you may vote to 4 instead of the deck, and let's put on Guard Circle. Choose and read again at in battle, and if your hand is Stormer cards, you choose a card from your hand, discard it. Standard PG, not specified base, but that means that this is only 1 of the cards in your hand when you put on Guard Circle, you don't have discard 1, that's amazing, because that means you can be as aggressive as you want in the early game, and for an aggressive deck such as Aquaforce Stoicheia, you're obviously going to want to be as aggressive as you want to push high damage in the early game, so that when they get to the late game, they either have a hard time guarding, because maybe they guarded everything early in the early game, or they're going to have to guard everything now because they're already at a high damage, and now that when they try to counterattack you because you went on the full aggressive, you have at least a PG that can defend you even with very little hand cards to begin with. And I love this PG a lot. It is my favorite of the 2 Stoicheia PGs in terms of art. The issue is, though, this PG does not like me back because it rarely shows up in my hand, so that fucking sucks for me. But hey, you know what, the PG is nice to have. I think it's great. I love having it in the deck and being able to defend myself again, like I said, where I have no hand cards because maybe I rushed too early, is definitely a nice benefit to have to it. So obviously we run it as a 4 of. You can run Planet Prevent if you want to in its place because they have the exact same skill, but again, I love this one more. Then we have our last grade 1 of the deck, and that's the grade 1 of the ride deck. He is Tier Knight Theo. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Auto enrolled upon by a unit with only Aquaforce for its clan. So I'm pretty sure you can't use this with other Stoicheia lines because I'm pretty sure it has to have Aquaforce for its clan. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Search deck to 1 Blue Storm Fleet card reveal, put it to your hand, shuffle your deck. Okay, considering the fact that we only have 1 right now, and the fact that they didn't name restrict it, especially considering the fact that its name is actually very short, I'm assuming that means we're going to get more Blue Storm Fleet cards, which I can't wait to see because I really do like the current name of the current one, though I do wish it was a little bit different. But then his other skill is continuous rearguard during turn. If you have Vanguard Maelstrom's card, he gets +5 for the turn. I like how they gave him a rearguard skill, because the thing is with Maelstrom, you can actually call him from Soul. So that's all around really great. So worst case scenario, if you do have to call Theo from Soul, he's at least going to be a 13k swinger and or booster from Maelstrom skill. So that's all around amazing. And not to mention that, again, just by riding on top of him with an Aqua Force unit, you get a boost on Fleet card. And that works amazing wonders in V, obviously, because, or not V, but Premium, obviously, because your whole deck is Aqua Force, meaning the second you ride on top of them, you're getting a free set order, because that's literally what Blue Storm Fleets are so far. So that's all around a great card. So I like him a lot. He definitely does the thing for Maelstrom greatly, and being able to search your deck's order, even though your order is not your main mechanic, is all around nice as well. And I like that we're seeing another card for a different nation that isn't Brancade being able to search set orders by being rode upon or by being ridden, or by riding. So all around, Theo's a nice grade 1, and I like him a lot. So one of in the ride deck. You don't need him in the main deck, because again, you can call him out from Soul, but if you need a tech option, he's obviously your tech option to put in the main deck. Then we have our grade 2s. So this one's definitely a tech option, because there are arguments to why you shouldn't run this and why you should, and that is Creed Assault. So grade 2 and stuff at Shield, 10k base at 2 copies, continues rearguard. If your rearguard did not stand by your card effects this turn, he cannot attack, and that's why you don't run him if you choose not to, because Maelstrom can only give someone a second attack during the first turn, or during the first battle, and your opponent has to be at grade 3 for, and the other one that I know can get multi-attack, you have to swing for the second time of that turn. So really, he's not that great going second, or sorry, he's not that great going first. Again, he's not bad, but you run him if you have no other options, because he also has continuous rearguard during the battle. He attacked the Vanguard, he gets +10, so he's a 20k swing. So he definitely will have the most numbers out of everything on the board, so run him for those turns where you don't have double restands, but otherwise, you kind of go with your tried and true Tidal Assault Algos play, because that gets 5 attacks. So 2 of Creed Assault definitely does something if you can get someone else to stand. You just need someone else to stand. So 2 of, it's a good grade 2 to have. Just very situational. Then we have our grade 2s. We have 4 copies of Tidal Assault. So, or I don't know why I said we have our grade 2s. We already started our grade 2s. Grade 2 and stuff at Shield, 10k base. I think we all knew this was coming back when Maelstrom was revealed. Auto rear, when this unit attacks into anything by Soul Blasting 1, you choose one of your Vanguards Maelstrom's card name. It gets +5 for the turn. So, interesting that he doesn't give himself 5k, but fair enough. He doesn't lose 5k like he does in his other restand variant, so I guess it makes sense why he doesn't give himself 5k, because he doesn't lose it this time either. But yeah, being able to give the Vanguard 5k, it doesn't do much, but at least makes Maelstrom an 18k swing, so that's great. And then auto rearguard, at the end of the battle, he attacked into anything, whether it's the Vanguard or the rearguard. And if you're if it's the second battle of that turn, and you have a standing Maelstrom Vanguard, counterblast one to stand this. I like how this had 3 different requirements. It had to attack into anything, granted, so that's not that hard. It had to be the second battle specifically, okay, kind of thing, but then again, that's Aqua Force for you. And then you have to have a standing Vanguard with Maelstrom, so you can't swing with Maelstrom first. Why did that part have to be a part of the skill? I don't think this deck would be that broken if Maelstrom was allowed to be rested, but I guess like some shenanigans that can be caused with like Superior Ride and Glory and you know, what was the other one? Karma and any future Maelstrom cards they might have for premium. So maybe, but I don't think D could break this a lot. But either way, he's a nice card. Being able to increase Maelstrom's power, even if it's only by 5k, is still pretty nice. And not to mention, of course, being able to stand itself just by attacking into anything as long as your Maelstrom Vanguard is standing and it was second battle of the turn is great. So I like how it's all, he's an amazing grade 2 and I like him. So we run him as a 4 in this deck because he's also one of our only other cards that can get multi-attack. Then we have 2 copies, one in the main deck, one in the ride deck, of Marine General of the Restless Algos, because you never know when you're going to need a little Algos, and honestly, he looks pretty cool in this art. So great to himself at Shield, 10k base, auto when he's rode upon by a unit with only Aqua Force for its clan. Again, same thing as Theo, where I don't know if you can use them for any other Stoicheia line or not, because they don't actually have Aqua Force for their clan. So tell me that in the comments, but I'm pretty sure I'm right that you can't use it for any other Stoicheia line that doesn't have Aqua Force for its clan. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck, and you choose up to either one card with Aqua Force for its clan or a Tier Dragon from among them. You call it your rear guard and you shuffle your deck. So great. You get a free rear guard to board, which is all around pretty nice. Oh yeah, also a quick note, because I just remembered it. The reason why I don't run the for the Blitz PG is because that one only works for free if your opponent has triple drive, and I'd rather have a normal unit than a Blitz because you can't call the Blitz. So yeah, that's just me. Anyways, back to Algos. So being able to call a free rearguard all around is pretty great, especially because Maelstrom works for tier dragons and just Aquaforce units in general, so that's great. And then auto rear when this unit attacks into anything, if it's the 4th battle that turn or more, and you have a great 3-guarded Vanguard with Maelstrom's card name, this time it doesn't have to be standing, so it's presumed that you're going to swing with this after Maelstrom. He can get plus 5k power till the end of the battle, and auto rear when this unit attack hits a Vanguard, you get to draw a card. So all around pretty great. Has a free draw skill, has a on-hit pressure now, and not to mention a 15k swing, so as long as they didn't see a trigger when you swing into a grade 3, your opponent can't just instant trigger him down, or they have to instant trigger him down to block it. Or not to mention the fact you can Brave Shooter, and granted that will still be instant trigger, but say for example your opponent's at grade 2 when you're doing this because all you have to do is be at grade 3, not your opponent. That means he'll be at a total of 20k if you combine him well with the Fierce Bright Brave Shooter like I said, meaning he's a 20k to at least a 10k grade 2. So alright, I like Algos a lot. Having that on-hit pressure is nice. Being able to just call unit for free just by being rode upon is nice, and not to mention the fact there's an extra 5k for free is also nice. So one of in the right deck, one of in the main deck, because you know, you might not always want to call him for Maelstrom's ability because you might just need that booster in the form of Theo, because I know sometimes I do, and you're always going to have probably Tidal Assault on your board, so having that grade 2 possibly be in the main deck just so you can draw into it is pretty nice, and just having him in the right deck as a 1-of is still pretty nice as well. So yeah, that's what Algos for you. Then move on to our grade 3s. First up, we have 4 copies of one of my favorite cards in, I think, all of Vanguard in terms of naming is Judgement Maelstrom. Grade 3, set order. After set order's play, put it to your order zone. Play this card if you have Vanguard of Maelstrom, its card name. So I like how it doesn't specify which one, so you can use any of the Maelstroms. Granted, in D, that's only 1, but in Premium, that's a total of 3 or 4 now. Auto, when this, or 7 technically speaking, auto, when it's put into your order zone, perform all the following. Choose up to 1 unit card with only Aquaforce for its clan, or as a tier dragon from your drop zone, called to rearguard. Great. So as you saw in this deck, there are a few tier dragons, and by a few, I mean currently you've only seen 1, but I promise you there's more, and there is a few more Aquaforce units. In fact, there's one called Wheel Assault who I don't run because he does cost Soul Blast, and I don't like having the extra Soul Blast cost. So if you want to run Wheel Assault, go ahead, put him over Prize Trident, because I rarely use Prize Trident skill, but yeah, I don't really like Wheel Assault. I test played with him. I wasn't using him as often. I was using Prize Trident, so might as well run Prize Trident. But anyways, Judgement Maelstrom, calling any card from drop zone is pretty nice as long as it's an Aquaforce unit and or a tier dragon. And then choose one of your rear guards for every, not choose a rear guard. You choose one rear guard, not one rear guard for every. So choose one rear guard, and it gets plus 5k for every other Judgement Maelstrom in your order zone. So that's great. So at most, you can give one plus 15. So all around pretty nice. Sadly, that means the first one will never get plus 5, but hey, you get a call out of it, and you get this search for free. So all around, it's a pretty nice order. Being able to just get a free recycle of units all around is pretty amazing. And the fact that it's for free and all you have to do is just place it while you're on a Maelstrom, it's just a good order nonetheless. I love its art. I love its name. In my opinion, its skill, I just don't like its skill for what it's called. If it was like something that gave Maelstrom an on-attack skill that allowed it to retire another rear guard, I feel like that would be worthy of the name Judgement Maelstrom. It's still a good order nonetheless, don't get me wrong. I just feel like the name Judgement Maelstrom is wasted on a card that doesn't have any, like, murdering potential, I guess is what we can call it. But either way, it's an amazing order nonetheless, being able to call stuff from drop and get numbers for multi-attack turns. So, 4 of Judgement Maelstrom. Again, good order, just I wish it did one more thing that involved retiring. Then we have 4 copies of our normal unit grade 3s, Shoreline Raised Dragon. Grade 3 turn persona at 13k base, auto rear when this unit attacks. If it's the 4th battle that turn or more, and your order zone has a Blue Storm Fleet card, this thing, this unit gets plus 10k, and at the end of the battle, and put him to soul. So that's great. You know, being able to be a 23k swing is amazing, and being able to go to your soul is great as well. And the thing is, he says he gets the 10k, but he doesn't lose at the end of the battle. It just says at the end of the battle he goes to soul. Meaning, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but that means if you found a way not to put him to soul, even though the effect is mandatory, but he found a way not to put him into soul, does that mean he keeps the 10k? I'm curious now. I'm stroking my imaginary beard trying to figure this out. Either way, amazing skill, because that means if he's the last one to swing for the turn, he's at least going to be at 23, and if he's the one you gave the power from Maelstrom to, he's at least at 28, and you've probably sacked a trigger on him, so at least 38 pretty much. So around, Shoreline Raised Dragon is a really good card in my opinion, just like the final push, making it so like, okay, well I know this 38 possible beat 6 about to swing at me, so I gotta guard everything else, because this one's gonna be the obvious take to the face. Sack a crit, put it on them, fuck, now I have to guard it, and then boom, they dropped like a fuck ton of cards. Let's just say 6 to 7, just to block this turn. All around, Shoreline's Raid is definitely one of my favorite grade 3s in this deck, or just one of my favorite grade 3s going out of Stoicheia, just because, again, free 10k works so well with Maelstrom, because he also goes to Soul, meaning you can call him out with Maelstrom next turn, because Maelstrom can call Aqua Force units or Tier Dragons, and he is a Tier Dragon, so obviously he's just an amazing grade 3, and you want to run him as a 4-of, because even though his first battle will be useless, unless his first battle is the 4th battle, once we hit the 4th battle, he's going to be really good, so 4-of. Then we have our last unit in the deck, and that's our main grade 3, 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck, of Blue Storm Dragon Maelstrom! Yes, the wind blows fiercely with this one, I say. Grade 3 turn, starting right, 13k base, the card we all knew and loved that we thought we were going to get in Flagberg, and Flagberg in some ways kind of dropped the ball and then like enhanced it in other ways. So yeah, let's go ahead and figure out what Maelstrom does differently than Flagberg. So act Vanguard, once per turn, discard a card from your hand, choose a unit card with only Aqua Force for its clan or as a Tier Dragon from your soul, call to your rear guard, and end of turn it gets auto rear when this unit attacks if your opponent's Vanguards are grade 3 or greater, and it's the first battle of that turn by counterblasting when you stand it until end of turn, and at the end of the turn put it to soul. So great, doesn't have to put itself to soul at the end of the battle, just gets that ability till the end of the turn, which is amazing. Sadly, that means you have to go, well, you get the call regardless if they're at grade 3 or not, but sadly the restand ability won't work unless they're at grade 3, but it will go to soul at the end of the turn regardless if they're at grade 3 now, so I guess it's a benefit there. So I think that's better than Flagberg in the sense that, you get a consistent way to at least get a restand, because Flagberg needed other certain units to do the restand for him, and granted, there was still a lot of them. There was still, you have to draw them to get his effect off. At least for this one, he kind of guarantees it, because you can definitely hit 4 battles with Maelstrom just by Maelstrom skill, as long as you have 1 rear guard at the start of your turn and at least 1 Tier Dragon / Aqua Force card in soul, because that means when you draw, you can just ditch 1, call the Tier Dragon / Aqua Force unit, and then it can just do the restand. And then Maelstrom's other skill, Auto Van, when it's unit attacks a Vanguard, if it's the 4th battle of that turn or more, draw a card, choose opponent's rear guard, kill it. Okay, very simple, just getting a free rearguard kill and getting a draw. The best part about it is the draw comes first, meaning that you get to kill the rearguard after you look at the hand card you have. So, if your hand card is better for certain situations and your opponent has rearguards that one of them is worse for you, one of them is better for you, you obviously want to kill the one that's worse for you, so you kill that one for free after you get to obviously check what the draw is. So alright, pretty great. Adds for a little bit tool deck's possibilities with his skill, and again, like I said before, guarantees that his second skill will always go off the second your opponent hits grade 3, as long as you have a hand card and at least 1 other rear guard on your board, doesn't matter what it is. Obviously, the best board you'll probably have is with this thing being the card you call, and then having a Tidal Assault for restand purposes, of course, and then maybe a Crit Assault if he could restand, but all around, pretty great nonetheless. Maelstrom just is a nice grade 3 to have, and again, like I said, the more consistent version of Flagberg. Flagberg hits more multi-attack, because Flagberg gets 5 to 6 attacks guaranteed, but Maelstrom can only get 5. Maelstrom can hit more numbers easier, and Maelstrom can also wipe out more of a board. Well, not wipe out more of a board, but I guess do it more consistently, I guess. So yeah, it's all around good. That's it for the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, Maelstrom versus Flagberg. If you want the more aggressive one, go Flagberg. If you want the more consistent one, go Maelstrom. Me personally, I like them both. In terms of aesthetic-wise, I think I like Flagberg's card more, but in terms of skill-wise, I think I love this Maelstrom deck more, because again, I get to add more numbers, and the deck all around just gets to be a lot more fucking dangerous than it already is. So, hell yeah. Good deck. I like it a lot. So without further ado, I'm going to end it here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join into the Discord, follow Twitch, and I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to stand up your Vanguards.